This time, too many loads, too few drivers.
People don't cut the mustard around here. That's it, they're gone.
The return of an old driver ruffles feathers.
Typical young bloke, wants the glitz and the glamour, don't want to work the lazy little
The boss shows how it's done.
It's crucial that you get every gear change right. One slip, you could tear a gearbox clean out of this truck.
And goes head to head with a rival trucker.
Yeah, that blade would just be like the butcher's cutting knife, so that's just kiss your ass goodbye.
At just 32, Jon Kelly is a self-made man. Mega trucking is in his blood.
Mum and Dad split up when I was very young, and I sort of stayed with my grandfather, who basically reared me. He had trucks, and from the ripe old age of about 3 or 4, I lived and breathed trucks. I was just a walking, talking truck encyclopedia. I remember the first time I actually drove by myself along the Barkly Highway out in the Northern Territory there with a Cat 777 dump truck on. And my grandfather said, "Here, you've been driving around the paddock long enough, jump in here." So I jumped in the seat and went for a bit of a drive, and he could see I was pretty confident, so he jumped in the passenger seat and cracked the stubby and was having a beer driving along. I was pretty chuffed then. One of the hardest things I've had to deal with is my grandfather letting me know that the family wanted to sell the business, and I didn't want them to sell the business at all. I wanted to be a part of it. That's what I lived and breathed. I got a phone call from my auntie one day, and she said that I'll never amount to anything. I'll never own my own trucks, never do this, never do that. And I went, well, I'll show you. So at 18, I went out and bought my own truck. Hell or high water wasn't going to stop me from buying that truck. This business and me getting in this industry was probably, a lot of it was fueled by spite. I went through some very hard times in the first 12 to 18 months. I was living off the smell of an oily rag. I didn't have enough money to eat, but I was going to survive and I was going to be successful, and nothing was going to get in my way.
And so began Heavy Haulage Australia. On the outskirts of Brisbane is the heart of Jon Kelly's empire.
Terry, there you go, mate.
It's Tuesday morning, and Jon gets a call from an old mate.
You got a bit of a mission for us.
He's a client with a giant load and a tight deadline.
Is that this Friday coming or next Friday? This Friday. Let me see what I can piece together. As always, we'll be right. We'll make it happen.
Jon's mission is to move one of the largest bulldozers in the world, the 930 horsepower Caterpillar D11T. It weighs in at a monstrous 115 tonnes, the equivalent of 55 utes. It's so heavy, most truckers haul it in 4 parts. But Jon will shift this dozer fully dressed, so it can go straight to work at a coal mine. But first, Jon has a bigger problem to solve.
I've got an ongoing problem in this business of finding drivers, especially as this business expands massively. These people that come through the doors either embrace the high standards or they don't. And 9 times out of 10, either I give them the bullet or they hang themselves and leave.
Pretty hard, man. People don't cut the mustard around here. That's it, they're gone.
CB, who we got kicking around to do a D11 for Terry Wolf up to Blackwater this Friday?
We've got any drivers? Mate, we're tight, there's nothing, there's nobody. I've got the boards full.
With no available drivers, Jon has no choice but to do the job himself.
It's a long weekend this weekend. Joanne's given me a leave pass, so couldn't get in the truck quick enough.
But he can't save the day every time there's a driver shortage.
One day out on the road is effectively equivalent to 3 days coming back to the office and dealing with the crap that I've left behind.
Jon and his team have come up with a solution.
He's back.
It's driver Chris. Everyone hoped they'd seen the last of him when he was fired 6 months ago.
Not very happy, typical young bloke, wants the glitz and the glamour, don't want to work the lazy little
It does me off, but, that's part of life.
He wouldn't last 2 seconds, mate, if I was upstairs and, firing and firing. But anyway, that's how it is, mate. It's not my call.
You back for good this time, or you back just for a couple of weeks just to annoy me?
I guess last time it was sort of a mutual decision between Jon and I for me to go and have some time off.
A bit of a mutual sort of agreement in the sense that before I kill you or cut your legs off and feed you to the fish, I suggest you go. The boys are very apprehensive about seeing you back in the yard. The easiest way to shut them up, mate, is keep your head down and your ass up and do a good job.
No, I intend to do that, mate.
I just can't deal with the when you go missing and you don't answer your phone or you Girlfriend parks a car behind the truck. I can't afford the grief from the guys if you don't turn up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm only one person. I can't jump in 5 trucks at once. With Chris McIntosh, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Go and give your truck a wash and get into it.
All right, mate. No worries.
The guys out the back are putting a bit of pressure on me about YC boys coming back. At the end of the day, I'm the boss dog and I'm the one who makes the decisions, and that's the way it's just got to roll.
I think he's got a couple of photos of Jon hidden in a private collection. So Jon's suddenly re-employed him. Can't work it out, but anyway.
In my position, coming to work and then guys have got the shits with you and they don't want to talk to you, and it does get to you after a while, and it's actually got a lot to do with why I left the last few times.
Chris will soon tackle a $1 million job that could make or break his return.
One bad phone call, one bad issue, one murmur that something's gone wrong, I'm going to cut his legs off.
The mining boom is good news for the MegaTruckers. Hauling machines like these is worth big bucks.
I want to try and capitalise on as much money as we can extract out of that mining industry.
Today's job is a Cat D11T, the king of bulldozers. It can shift 3 semi-trailer loads of dirt in a single push.
If you don't know what you're doing, moving a machine of this size could be a disaster. You've got the width to deal with. We're nearly 7 metres wide, we're nearly 5.5 metres high, and we're just under 200 tonne.
The client wants his $2 million dozer hard at work in less than 2 days. The pressure's on Jon to deliver.
We put it on, it goes to site, it can walk off the back of the trailer, and it can be pushing dirt in 2 hours. Mate, she's a good-looking bit of gear.
No, they're nice, aren't they?
For every hour we're late, it's effectively costing Terry $1,000 an hour. Good to see you.
Safe trip.
I'll send you a postcard.
Do that.
Where's Chris?
Back at the depot, driver Chris is missing on day 1, and project manager Ian cops flack.
It's supposed to be 8:30, and he rang me, how far away is he? I said, not far. Might have told a little white one.
Veteran driver Dave reckons Chris has slept in.
Don't know how much sleep you need to have in a day, but maybe that's what they're making some of these young blokes out of these days, mate. I don't know. Maybe they still need to be at home on mummy's tit or something.
I wanted to bring Chris back. I want him back here. He's a good operator. I'm depending on Chris to really get this right. This is a new customer. Jon has said to Chris, I've said to Chris, don't f this up, mate.
Nightmare.
Driver Chris is missing and a client is waiting.
Where's Chris?
Driver Chris finally arrives almost an hour late.
Brent, he's on his way. So, no, put it straight. He's on his way. Thanks, buddy. Good guy standing around, got to go.
All right, mate. No time for eating.
Ian has been on the phone. Apparently he's had a customer on to him wanting to know where we are. Apparently he's waiting for us, so mate, time-wise today we're absolutely going to be pushing it. We can't afford for anything to go wrong at all.
120 kilometres west of Brisbane, boss Jon is anxious to haul the big dozer.
The whole aim of the game here is to get out of town before the major traffic hits.
But he can't leave until the wide load curfew lifts at 3 a.m. Plus his destination of Blackwater has a curfew from 5:30 p.m. Jon has just 14 hours to drive 820 kilometres, including fuel and rest stops.
Got all your paperwork, everything covered? Yeah, I'll show you. Grab the permit, the police permit. Yeah. Main roads, load mass declaration. At the end of the day, you only get one chance of this, so we make sure all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. Perfect. All right, thanks, guys.
Might be a bit of fog out on the road there too. There's a bit out in Westbrook when I come in there.
Oh, was there? Yeah.
Fog and 200 tonnes of dozer on the move can be a fatal mix. If it gets heavier, this job could grind to a halt, a delay Jon can't afford.
It's absolutely line ball. I'm waiting for the police officer to come up and say, listen, Jon, time to park up in the interest of safety, because this fog is like pea soup. It's thick as buggery.
Back in Brisbane, driver Chris finally arrives to find a client with no time for small talk.
Yeah, right, you want to grab this one first.
For his first job back with HHA, Chris must haul a switch room across town. 12 metres long and 45 tonnes, it's filled with $1 million worth of electricals.
It'll be about 900, yeah. So it's, yeah.
This isn't just a test for Chris. The first-time customer is testing HHA's services.
As any prudent business does, we've asked Jon and his boys to come in and have these as a test case, see how they go, and hopefully we'll do some more business with them.
Yeah, if I stuff this job up today, I guess consequences are I'm going to be looking for a new one.
Just grab those axle.
I can see myself maybe an accident happening. I never want that on my head. I guess the biggest challenge we've got today is the trailer. I mean, we've got to open up to about 3.4 metres wide, and I think our room that we've got to back underneath the switch room is about 3.6 and a half.
Jump on the other end of this pipe.
So we've got about 100 mil aside, you know, not even that, and they've only got bricks holding this switch room up.
3.5.
If we bump into one of those bricks, it's a good chance it's going to knock that switch room straight on the ground. There's going to be a few phone calls involved, I can imagine that.
Helping Chris is rookie Kieran.
Alrighty. Just yell stop before we hit something.
Kieran, I mean, he's a good hand, but he's only just started with this. He hasn't got a lot of experience as well. I'm just taking it nice and steady, trying to go as slow as possible. It's very daunting trying to listen. I'm looking as much as I can in the mirrors, but I can't see all of it. Hopefully nothing goes wrong.
Stuff it up on this load, HHA loses a client and Chris his job. Daybreak. Jon's 200 kilometres north of Toowoomba, and he's in luck.
Fortunately, just on the other side of John Dairy, the fog sort of cleared. It's been an absolute perfect day. We've got quite a large convoy travelling here with this particular load. Only about 1 kilometre to 2 kilometres out in front, we have the first pilot vehicle. That's the warn oncoming traffic. That's followed by basically the police escort. So any vehicles that the pilot vehicle out in front doesn't get off the road, the police escort effectively runs what we call suicide, and he shoves everyone off the road to make sure that I've got a clear passage when I come through with the massive load. Behind me, I've got a pilot vehicle as well, and he marshals all the traffic around me from a standpoint from the rear.
To make the mine before the 5:30 curfew, Jon can't afford delays. But that's not easy, hauling a dozer with a 7-metre blade down a road 6 metres wide.
Now, the whole idea of running an oversized convoy like this is pre-warning to the traffic, especially the heavy vehicles. So when we come across another truck or a bus, it's important to give them enough time to pull up to allow us to go past safely. And that's why we give oncoming traffic more than 2 kilometres lead time to find a spot. If I pulled up and went off the camber of the road, there's a chance there that the actual shoulder of the road could collapse, and if the shoulder of the road collapsed, effectively that whole truck would go down the side of the embankment. So that's just kiss your ass goodbye, Merry Christmas, end of the line.
Coming over the rise, Jon spots a rival trucker. He's been told to pull over, but continues down the road.
This is either going to end in tears or he's going to end up with a massive yellow pinstripe down the side of his truck.
Back in Brisbane, driver Chris's chance to prove himself hits a snag. Or worse still, a stack of bricks.
As a driver, I'm waiting to hear that stop. So, I mean, as soon as we touch something, mate, we stop straight away.
Keep coming back at that.
Chris has another crack. This time, it's in, with a hair's width to spare. But there's another problem.
After lots of negotiating and lots of ginning around, we finally got this trailer under and we've realised that we need to extend the trailer another hole.
I'll have to pull this trailer right out. All the way.
As Chris drives the trailer back out, the $1 million switch room gets a twitch.
Pillars on the way through there.
Huh?
Mate, the last thing you want is the client to have any involvement in you hitting their equipment in any reason whatsoever.
Where we hit?
Only nicked it, see the crease mark?
Oh, yeah.
You can do 1,000,001 good deliveries, but you'll be remembered for the one that you hit and stuffed up.
On the road to Blackwater, Boss John faces a 300-tonne problem.
I am there now, mate.
2 wide trucks, 1 narrow road.
The worst thing that can happen while I'm approaching this bloke here is effectively that blade would just be like the butcher's cutting knife. You wouldn't need an ambulance. All you'd need is probably a dustbin and a hose. There's not much going to be in it. It's got to be bloody close. Dickhead. But then the cheeky bastard gets on the microphone and wants to give me a spray.
Yeah, make sure you're off the road, though, or you ain't slowing down for no.
Pull your head in, mate.
What are you on about?
I was supposed to pull up for you with a big 3v8 on tonight. It's lucky I was going the other way, you know, at 80 kilometres an hour. Because had there been a chance to pull up, it would have been on like Donkey Kong. The most challenging part of this journey for me is probably the Duringa range. Catches a lot of people out. You sort of get used to the corners and used to how steep it is. But in the last about 75 to 80 metres, it just goes bang, straight up. It's crucial that you get every gear change right. You know, one slip of the wrong revs or one position of your gear stick in the wrong position, you know, you can tear a gearbox clean out of this truck, no dramas at all. Got an 18-speed transmission that effectively has to roll as smooth can be. If you dropped a gearbox, there's 50 grand laying out on the ground and effectively 2 or 3 or 4 days off the road. So you've got an unhappy client, $50,000 repair bill, and you can't get back to your job in 3 or 4 days. So, you know, the cost of that could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
While steep roads can prove a threat to big trucks can inflict their own damage.
One of the biggest factors a lot of people don't realise is actually bitumen. When a road gets really, really hot and that bitumen melts, and you've got a truck pulling 200 tonne going up a hill, and those wheels are trying to drive, you know, at the end of the day, all it takes is those wheels to get one bit of slip, and it'll spit that bitumen out in chunks the size of family pizzas. My aim now is just to keep this truck going at a constant pace. I just want to roll on nice and soft through this bitumen here. I've done everything I can. I've moved the tractor forward to put plenty of weight on the drive so we shouldn't get any slippage.
He's picked the right gear and the right speed. But the big hills haven't let him off scot-free.
We're running a little bit low on fuel. A little bit concerned about getting to our final destination this afternoon. I was a bit worried about the time, so I didn't fuel the whole truck up, only fueled one side up. $1,000 for nearly 10 minutes of refueling. I've got no idea why the fuel's $1.60 here. Our average fuel consumption's been about 720 metres per litre. Compare that to your Falcon or your Toyota Camry, you'd be horrified.
In Brisbane, driver Chris has extended his trailer to the right length. He prepares for a second go at the reverse.
All right, so we want the trailer to the driver's side.
Yes, please, mate, yep.
Start bringing the head down. Just keep an eye on this front left-hand bollard on the passenger side.
He makes it, and maybe wins some new business for the company.
This is a test case. We do have other contractors. We see how the boys go on this, and I'm happy so far. They've taken all the due diligence and taken their time, which I like to see.
I love this job. I love doing heavy haulage. I just got to get used to going away all the time and being away from the party life with my mates and
Yeah, you're missing out on a bit of fun.
Finally got the switch room here and delivered all in one piece. There was no drama, nothing went wrong.
But has Chris done enough to prove he's got what it takes to be a mega trucker once again?
It's definitely a relief. I mean, I'm glad that it's all gone so smoothly. Yeah, mate, I'm happy if they're happy.
Yeah, no, they're really happy with that, so...
Perfect.
Yeah, done well.
800 kilometres to the north, boss Jon Kelly beats the Blackwater curfew by a whisker.
So we made it absolutely bang on time with about 4 minutes to spare. The sun's still up, so yeah, it's been about, I suppose, 14 hours from Tonne here today.
Time for a hot dinner and a cold beer.
Very relieved that we've arrived ahead of time effectively, but it's not over till the fat lady sings, and we've got to get this thing off the trailer.
Next morning, Jon finally delivers the bulldozer to the Curragh mine site.
At the end of the day, everything went according to plan. There was nothing really to be worried about. The way the dozer rolled off that beaver tail was absolutely textbook, so it's happy days. We'll pack up, head home and take on the next challenge.
Every now and then, even mega trucks meet their match. This Komatsu low loader has 10 huge wheels and can carry over 400 tonnes. In minutes, it hauls the D11T to the coal mine. And in no time, it's on the job. When Jon arrives back at his Brisbane depot, he wants a few words with Chris.
See, boy.
John boy.
Good, well, I didn't get any phone calls from the customer, mate, so he must have done something all right.
Yeah, we've got to talk to him. He was on site and he was happy with everything, how everything went.
Chris pulled off a really good job. Client's happy. Praised the way Chris operated, which is always awesome for a newfound customer. I've got some bigger and better things in store for him, but he just needs to prove that he's back in the A game and prove he can turn up every day and do what he says he can do. Because, mate, when you do operate, you are a very good operator.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that.
But, you know, when you don't turn up, you shit me to tears.